You ready? Okay. Things are so much different than when I was a little boy. They're more complicated, and raising children is totally different. Have you had to change your mindset a little bit to change?
Oh, well, I think that the circumstances in which we nurture children have radically changed. The typical family 35 years ago, of course, was dad out working and mom staying home taking care of the kids. That profile fit over 80% of American families. Today, that profile represents only 11% of American families. 25% of our children live in single-parent households. So almost 70% of our children have both parents working outside the home. You know, we have so many children living in poverty. We, as a nation, cannot be proud of the fact that we're the first modern industrial nation to have made children. It's principal underclass, 20%, one in five lives in poverty. So it's a big problem, and the nurturing circumstances have changed tremendously. Children haven't changed any, really. Their needs remain the same, but how we meet them is what has changed. So rather than have that close-knit family, and of course in those good old, so-called good old days, they probably were not that good, but in those days we had the extended family as a much more important part of the nurturing system. And now, of course, thanks to jet airplanes and modern highways, so many of us live far from our roots, and that means we've left grandma and granddad and aunts and uncles and cousins behind, and they're not available to help us with nurturing anywhere. So it's tougher for parents to nurture. It's particularly difficult for a single parent who must work and comes home in the evening with usually a woman with no one to turn to after a hard day at the office or at the factory or wherever. She can't share her frustrations with a spouse. She can't call mom because that's long distance and she can't afford it. And here's this kid that does what children do. They just chatter and talk away and ask questions and make demands. Children have always done that, but she's not as prepared to do it. And that's why we probably have greater abuse of children than physical abuse and emotional abuse than we've ever had before. And we probably are less able to meet the needs of young people, to answer their questions and to nurture them as we once did. That's why everybody has to get involved in nurturing young people. Hopefully because we feel compassion for children, but certainly because it makes good economic sense for us as taxpayers. We all pay the price when a parent fails to nurture. We pay the price in illiteracy, we pay the price in emotional difficulties and instabilities, we pay the price in the extreme in crime, in drugs, in prison building. So it's a very, very expensive thing if we don't nurture children properly.
As a parent, I've always had mixed feelings about child care and daycare. I've seen many good things that have come out of it in my children. I've seen maybe some bad things that have come out of it. Do you look at it as just a necessity that we can't avoid it?
Well, we can't avoid it. You know, some of my older friends say, well, why doesn't mom just get back in the kitchen? Well, that's not going to happen. It can't happen. And America couldn't afford to have that happen. Mm-hmm. Our economy would come crashing in a great big hurry if we didn't have women in prominent places in the workforce. So we ought to accept that as a fact and get on with the job of nurturing children. Daycare can be dreadful for children. It can be a horrible experience when it is purely cognitive, keep children out of harm's way, maybe not, in a semi-safe environment. When it's purely custodial, when we just drop our children off to the nice lady down the street who takes care of 6 or 8 or 10 in her living room, throws them in front of the television set and shoves a sandwich at them every once in a while and some cookies in the afternoon. That's not child care, really. That's not developing children. We need high quality and accessible child care, and that's what we in society have to provide. Here in the Baptist Child Care Center, we're doing it through the affiliation with the hospital as an employee benefit, and that makes sense for the hospital. It makes sense in recruiting employees, retaining employees, saving on the cost of training employees, keeping them their mind on the job of providing high quality medical care for the community. It makes sense for almost any corporation, but not everybody has an affiliation with a corporation or a hospital. And we have to meet the needs of those people that need to work but can't afford high quality themselves, can't afford high quality unless it's subsidized in some way child care. It has to be a developmental program. It has to meet the needs of every individual unique child. Each child is unique. They have to be able to be developed emotionally and culturally and certainly intellectually if their demands are there. And that can only be done through a comprehensive program program. That kind of a program, which represents a partnership between the center and the parents and focusing upon the needs of the child, that is fabulous for the child. That is really good. That's where a child can develop, and as a child can't develop individually at home without those social and other experiences and challenges that a child gets in a high-quality child care program.
Have you ever, since television is your life or has been, and you made yourself on television as your career, is television now a negative for children? It was once maybe a positive.
Well, television is a tool like anything else. Is television a negative? Is Nintendo a negative? You know, we get frightened by all of these things that come along, and each is just a tool that should be used and controlled by us. When somebody tells me I wouldn't have it in my house, they're just telling me that they're unable to control the television. Television is like anything else. It's like a vacuum cleaner. You clean the carpet, and when the carpet's clean, you turn the thing off. You don't leave it on all day. But unfortunately, parents use it in an inappropriate way as a babysitter, and there's a need for that. And when they use it that way, then it's going to be a negative. There's no question, because they are getting values from television, values that parents don't even realize are being imparted. If nothing else, it's taking time away from real life experiences, sandbox experiences, peer experiences, and parent-child experiences. When a parent says, "I'm busy, honey, go watch television," and then never goes back to that child and relates to that child, that's depriving a child of a growing experience, a parent-child relationship. That's very, very important. So that's where television can be a tremendous negative. And of course today, in commercial television, we don't have high-quality programming because it's the marketplace is in deregulated television is the determining factor. Only in public television do we have programs that meet the nurturing needs of children first. And of course, in our great wisdom, we don't fund public television very well. I spent my 3 years in public television not creating programming, which I thought I would be doing, which I envied producers in public television for before I moved over there. I spent my time looking for underwriting. You can't get too many businesses that care much about the future. We're interested in the next quarterly report, and to heck with what happens 5 years from now or 15 or 20 years from now. And we as a society are going to just go down the drain if we don't start thinking about the long-term objectives of our nurturing needs.
It's hard to worry about the future when you're worried about today, I guess.
Yeah, I guess it is. But if you spend all your time worrying about today and don't look forward to the future, you're not going to have a future. You know, we look with great envy on other industrial nations. Look what's happening in Japan. How come those kids can read? Because they invest in families, they invest in education, and they're a different society. I'm not suggesting that we do the same things. We are different culturally, so that we really shouldn't be doing the same things. But we should be thinking about our future. We should be thinking about our educational institutions, about how we nurture kids, how we meet their daycare needs, how we meet the many other needs of young people in the station. And not 20% of them shouldn't be living in poverty. That's absolutely a disgrace.